Welcome, everyone. You're tuning in to the Wealthy Speaker live on LinkedIn. Today, I'm so happy to have the amazing Dawnna St. Louis here with me to talk effortless sales conversations. Welcome, Dawnna.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I love doing these. I love doing these.
I have a feeling that you get your name mixed up, or people get your name mixed up sometimes. I get Jane Alexander. I get Janet Alexander. Tell me what people call you, because I have almost called you something different at least one occasion. Tell me
Dawnna
what
St.
you get.
John and
Dawnna
Dawnna
St.
St.
John.
James.
Why is that?
I don't know. I get Dawnna St. John and Dawnna St. James
Yeah,
all the time. All the
yeah,
time. I don't
yeah.
even know a Dawnna St. John or St. James.
I know, me neither. Me neither. But I feel like I don't know. It just rolls somehow, and so that's really weird that happened. But I get Jane Alexander all the time. Well, if
Gotcha.
you are tuning in with us today on Facebook or LinkedIn Live or YouTube, drop us a line in the comments section and let us know that you're listening. And perhaps let us know if you have any qualms about sales conversations, about fees, standing tall in your fees. Just let us know what your issues are. We would love to be able to address them today. Dawnna and I had so much fun on our podcast a couple of weeks ago. Go on over to the Wealthy Speaker podcast if you haven't checked that out yet. Why is having effortless sales conversations so important?
Oh my gosh. Because, okay, so geek, right? Geek. And it's so funny because, I put away my pocket protector and I took the tape off my glasses and I learned how to sculpt my face using bronzer. And so people go, what? You're a geek? Geek, certified geek, which means that when it came down to the sales conversations, I was not a natural at it. It felt awkward. It felt uncomfortable. And because it felt awkward and uncomfortable, I would engage in what is well known to many salespeople as verbal vomit. There is no gold. I now just call it content waterboarding, but there's no gold in that. There really isn't.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do in those conversations is we think that if we give the customer all the information, then they'll find what they want. And what really ends up happening, Jane, is it's like taking a kid to a candy store and saying, you can have anything you want. They're going to pass out before they choose something. But if I say you can have one of these three things,
Yes.
they're going to pick something and move on.
Yeah.
So we do it wrong because we're just like, if I tell you everything, you're going to pick something. And it usually just confuses your customer. So you want to change it from these awkward, uncomfortable conversations to something a little bit more comfortable, conversational and effortless.
I love it. I love it. Shout out to Jocelyn, who is tuning in from
What's up, Jocelyn?
LinkedIn. Jocelyn Victoria Gross, thank you so much for being here. We are thrilled, and we would love to feature anybody who would like to come on and talk about effortless sales conversations. We had a term. It's not a very nice term. I don't like it very much. Show up and throw up.
Yeah.
And people sometimes do that to me, for instance, on LinkedIn. I'll
All the
agree
time.
to connect with them. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting a 20-page letter in my inbox. It's like, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think
legit?
is going to occur from that? I am totally not engaged with you, and I am completely turned off now. So
My favorite is they send you something and then they're like, hi, and you're like, hi, and they're like, so let me tell you everything that you possibly need to know about me from birth to this very moment.
yes.
And because I'm in coaching mode a lot of times, and I'll go, so why does any of that matter to your customer? Am I supposed to figure that out? Did you really expect me to read all 375,000 lines that you just wrote in LinkedIn and shut down their servers? Seriously, because it doesn't work.
Please don't do that. Okay, that's tip number one.
Stop.
So, okay, I would love to hear a bit more. You said you're a geek. Let's talk a little bit about your background and kind of walk us through to what you do today to help people, so that people kind of understand that you're really coming from a very unique perspective. I love hearing your story.
Yeah, so I was homeless at 19. I really ended up getting into tech heavy. So I became certified in a lot of programming languages. So for my geeks out there, object-oriented programming was my shiznit. So I really loved object-oriented programming. Then I got into business intelligence back in the day when people
Can
thought it
we
was
pause just
fine.
for a second? Okay.
Yes.
So when you say I was homeless at 19 and I really got into heavily.
IT and tech. Yeah.
Tech is not what the average bear is expecting to hear in that sentence. I really got into drugs. I got into alcohol. I got into something else.
I got into Microsoft Excel for professionals.
I
What?
got up to no good. I mean, come on. How did you go from being homeless to becoming this kind of tech rock star? How did that
Yeah,
happen?
my gangster was on lock at Barnes and Noble. Just saying. Um, um, I had a man who was just a sweetheart of a guy who introduced me to a police officer. They kind of became my saviors, mentors, helpers, guardian angels, whatever you want to call it, right? It takes a village, and clearly it took a police officer to really kind of a village and a police officer to kind of help me find my way. And one of the things that he helped me do is get a job as a customer service rep. And when I got this job as a customer service rep, the one thing that I realized that I absolutely hated doing was customer service. And it wasn't even customer service. I hated being the person who did repeatable processes.
Okay.
Right. So I'm a Six Sigma black belt, which is a process person in many ways. And so I like putting together process. I don't like being the person in the process. I didn't know this at that time, but what I did was I figured out from reading this book called Microsoft Excel for Professionals. I'm not kidding you. It was, I'm serious. It was really, really thick. Oh yeah. Like, see where you thought it, you, like most people were like, so you read it? And I was like, oh my God. And then in the pivot table chapter, like it was, I was really excited about it. But when I got to the end, there was this whole part about Visual Basic programming. It's Visual Basic for applications. And in that, they would teach you how to do something. Well, I wanted to apply it to a business problem, which was, how do I keep my customers from having to call in? And how do I deliver to them instead their bills? This is back in the day, like, prehistoric times where we had fax machines. And so how do I deliver their bill to them without them having to call me, so that way they could just do their expenses? Microsoft Excel for Professionals had this way of connecting to fax servers. So I could actually see the trend, have their data, connect to the fax server, and send them their bill without them ever calling and talking to me. And the president of the division didn't understand why I was spending see, Jocelyn says she loves a good spreadsheet, girl, right?
Preach. Hang on, I'm going to turn on my fan. I'm still listening, though. Continue.
Okay. So one of the things that happened was the president of my division wanted to know why my solitaire score was so freaking high, because I was playing the hell out of solitaire, and why the calls were so low, but we were still hitting revenue and profit. So he's like, what's going on? And I said, oh, because I built this thing. I didn't know it was programming. I built this thing so they wouldn't call me, but they would still get their bill. And he goes, dang, you're like you're a program. I thought you're a homeless chick. You're like a programmer? And I'm like, oh God, no. I read this book. And he goes, for fun?
On purpose?
All right. Like, why did you read that? And so I read that book, and that moved me right over into IT. And so I became one of those people who I was so this is for my geek people, they'll get it. I was a Novell engineer. I was a certified Microsoft network engineer. I know I said those out of order. I could drop Cat 5 cable like nobody's business. So I was a geek. I was a geek. I could build computers. I still do that. So.
I suspect that comes in very handy. I also, by the way, for our listeners who might know me and be surprised by this, was trained in college to program computers, but I never did. I mean, for what it gives me today, I've always said it just makes me feel comfortable doing what I do today and using technology. So it served me, but I mean, I would have been sitting in a big room with a giant mainframe watching punch cards go through the thing. That was how old I'm older than you, I believe. So that's how long ago that was. And so I never ever went down the path of actually being a computer programmer, but I learned how to do it, and it
Mhm.
has served me quite well. If you have any fears of technology, I think embracing them is the way to go because it
Oh yeah.
allows you to try new things. And today, for instance, we're trying Restream. I've been doing Restream now for a while, but I actually found a new little feature for those of you listening in. This is just a little rabbit hole. I want to take you down. There is a snap camera that you can add to your Restream, and you can put effects on the screen and things like that. I haven't played around with it that much. I just have a nice little touch up filter on, which of course I missed from Zoom, but I can put the butterflies around my head if I want to. And I just wanted to share that little tech tip with anybody
Okay.
who's using Restream. It's just a fun thing to be able to add more to your screen if you decided to do that. So, okay, that was a total rabbit hole.
Total geek moment sidebar that made all of
That's
our
as
little logic
geeky as I
brains
get.
flutter. Right. Yeah. All our little logic brains just went all a flutter. We're like, ooh.
So tell us what your business model looks like today, because there's so much in your history leading up to it. You're living the dream, literally. But tell us
Mhm.
what your business model looks like, how you help people today.
Right. So back in the day when I started my business intelligence company, which at the time people thought was spying, it's not. It really helps people make smarter decisions in regards to business by looking at trends,
Okay.
trends that people don't generally put together.
Right.
But in building that, myself and my business partner came up with this 12-part methodology formula in order to recognize what people needed in their business, and not just what they needed, but in what order they needed them.
Mm.
That was the big part that we
Huh.
would tell in which order they needed them, because most people will jump out and go, well, I have this product, I have to go sell it. Right? Immediately jump. And turns out if you do that, you're more likely to fail and spend a whole bunch of money on failure than if you do it in the right order.
Ah.
So today, what I do is I leverage that same methodology. So I am, someone had described me the other day as a methodology queen,
Okay.
because I'm like, there is a formula and I'm really good at picking out those formulas. So today, there are a couple of different ideal clients based on what I do, but mainly it's people who are coaches, speakers, and entrepreneurs. And this is on my non-corporate side. It's
Mm-hmm.
corporate speakers and entrepreneurs who have a level of expertise, and they want to take that area of expertise and they want to really niche down their ideal client, and they want to turn maybe their 6-week workshop into a 6-figure mansion retreat. They
Mm.
really want to know how to sell better, and they want to create these programs that are not just done at you but done with you programs, so they make a real impact on their customers. And that's really what I do with my customers.
That's awesome. And selling better is really what we're talking about today. And
Mhm.
I just absolutely adored talking to you on the podcast about effortless sales conversations. What should people avoid when it comes to that initial sales conversation? What are some of the little pitfalls that we may fall into?
So one of my favorite clients' name is Joe Rossi. He works for a company called Transfinder, and he created this term called the Rossi 1-5 dance. And without going into too many details, here is the gist of it.
Okay.
Most people will hear their customer say, "This is what I want."
Okay.
And then immediately they will go in and say, "Well, this is what I got."
Right.
And they'll just start like, he calls that the 1-5 dance. What I want, what I got, like right there, right there. And that's a
Okay.
huge, huge, huge mistake.
Okay.
Um, the reason it's a mistake, Jane, is this. Imagine you're a doctor and I walk in and I go, Jane, I really need some morphine.
Yes.
And you said, well, guess what I got? I got
This
morphine for
kind, and this
you.
kind, and this kind. Let me show you all my morphine.
All the morphines, all the morphines.
Right,
You are going to be out of business and
right,
unlicensed really quickly.
right.
So the mistake that a lot of people make in sales is that they don't treat their customers like a patient that they are diagnosing.
So they get to the diagnosis too quickly.
Way too. They don't even. Many times they don't even diagnose. They ask for morphine. We're going to give them some daggone morphine. That's
Okay,
what's going to happen. We're not even diagnosing. We're
right.
just going. You have money for
Okay.
that.
So let's move then into I'm assuming that great sales conversations start with great questions. What would be some of the
Yes.
key questions that you think are essential for a speaker to use?
Very first question. Use it in every conversation, whether you're talking to your best friend, your mom, your enemy, or a client.
Uh huh.
What's going on in your world that brought us together? So when Jane and I started, I'm like, Jane, what's going on in your world that made you want to reach out to me to be on your podcast? Because I'm super
Mm,
honored, right? Why did
okay.
I ask that question? Because I'm like, what is she really looking for from me without going, why are you calling me?
Yes. What's
Right?
going on? I'm putting these on the
Your world.
screen.
Yep.
What's going on in your world that brought us together? That is a great conversation starter. And it might be as simple as, well, we have this event on such and such a day. And, so and so found you when we searched this and blah, 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 blah. I mean, you're gathering intel in that because you're finding out how they found you, you're finding out the date of their event, you're starting to figure out what maybe the theme is, and you can start to put the pieces of the puzzle together. All right, so what's our next question?
So that first question, by the way, we call that box one.
Okay,
Right?
box
That's
one.
box one of this 9 box thing that I teach. Box one of the effortless conversations. So
Okay.
box one is what's going on in the world. You're not even allowed to go to box two until you have a full configuration of what their world actually looks like.
All
So
right.
even when I talk to Jane, she's like, "Oh, I do this podcast, and then this is when I do it. This is who my ideal client audience is. This is who generally listens. This is how long I've been doing it." So she gave like this full view. So I had a full view. I
Right.
know that I'm not the very first person that she's ever spoken to, by the way. I'm clearly aware of that. And she told me all these great things about her history and why she does that. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Right? Now on to box two.
Okay.
Box two is, well, so tell me a little bit more about your frustrations, your struggles, your successes, and your desires. Frustrations, struggles, successes, and desires.
Okay, so let's frame that up in the example that we were talking about. And
I can tell you what frustrates Jane.
well, no,
Party people.
let's frame it up for the example of the speaker situation. I have a date, I have an event. Um, Maybe we frame that up with, okay, tell me a little bit about what's going on in your industry right now. What are people feeling? What are your if it's an association, for instance, what are your members' frustrations? Why did you want this specific topic like
A
that?
lot of times they'll be talking about a theme, right? So
Right.
part of what's going on in their world usually is some type of theme.
Right, and
And
relates
so
back to
now I could so
okay.
now I'm hitting straight up with desires, right? So
Mm,
why did you want that particular theme this year?
love that.
They're going to tell you something and then I'll go, so what are people struggling with that made you choose that particular theme?
Yeah, that's great.
Right? Because 90% of the time there's a theme.
Yeah.
Right? Every now and then when there's not a theme with an organization and they're doing a, let's say, kickoff meeting. So why do you do a kickoff meeting every year? What is the one thing that you get out of that that's absolutely amazing?
Yeah, I love that. So what are people struggling with that you chose that theme? What went into that theme? And tell me all the things. I think a lot of speakers maybe don't dig as deeply as they might ahead of time. And the preface for this conversation is I don't know if I'm the right fit. let's have a conversation and see. And that's the part that can get you from an email to a discovery call, is it not?
Mhm.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny because just this morning I was coaching a sales team and we were talking about the gauntlet of disqualification, right? Because
Right.
what you really want to do is have a conversation with someone and you are disqualifying many times if they are even a fit for you and your
Right.
organization because you want to treat your business like a private club, not a public park,
There's
right?
one
And
of your
then
golden tips. You want to
yeah,
you want to treat your business like a private club, not a public park. That's gold right there. I love that, Dawnna.
yeah. And the reason you're doing, and so how you do that is that there's this gauntlet of disqualification. And that gauntlet disqualification has three particular elements in it. And I say three because I always put time and money together.
Hmm.
Time and money, right? Um, Authority,
Yes.
right? So you have time, money, authority, and then of course, are they going to put in the effort? Are they going to do their side of what has to be done? So
Yes.
we put it under team. So we go time, effort, authority, and money.
Mm.
Time, effort, authority, and money, which just happened this morning from this young lady named Eliza from Gray Castle said time, effort, authority, and money. I'm like, oh, team, that was really good. So team, time, effort, authority, and money. Those are the four areas that your ideal client needs to make sure that they're working in. And so
Mm.
when you start talking a little bit about their struggles or their frustrations, I like to find out about speakers that they've had a frustration or a struggle with, what
Yes.
they haven't gotten that they expected from a previous event, because
Right.
this gives me an opportunity to disqualify them, especially from a money perspective.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And finding out early on, at what point in the conversation would you find out what their budget might be? Would you wait till you got them really whooped up and asked a lot of questions first? Or tell me about you, the way you do it. I love the way you do it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I do early on is, especially when they're telling me, I'll use the frustration part because I tend to get in these really deep conversations rather than surface sales conversations. That's
Yes.
why it's effortless, because it's not a sales conversation.
Right.
It's really a coaching conversation for me with my client.
Like, let's see if
And
we're a fit, right?
let's see if we're a fit, and let's see if you're coachable.
Mm.
Even if I'm not coaching them, I need to know if my client is coachable because they need to learn about me. And if they're not willing to, then this isn't a fit at all.
Oh, nice.
And so, one of the things that I'll do, especially if they told me something that they were frustrated with from a client, I said, well, let me ask you, do you think that maybe part of the challenge was because they were maybe a $3,000 speaker or a $5,000 speaker rather than an expert like me who's around $25,000 a speech?
Yeah.
So what have I done right there?
You've really said you number one, you've set yourself apart from the group of lower cost speakers, and you've put yourself in as an expert at an elevated level. And so they've already been telling you their frustrations. So it could be because they didn't hire properly in the past. And so you're taking them on the track up
Right.
up
And let
the
me correct something that I said really quickly. I would actually not say $25,000 a speech. I would say $25,000 for the solution.
Oh,
Right. So I'd say $25,000 for the program. Right. I would say that. And
okay.
so I'd say which one. Now, in this, listen, I have broached the subject of rate already.
Yeah.
At this point, my ideal client is either going to keep talking or
Or not.
they're going to go 25,000.
Oh, that's way out of our
Um,
price point. I'm sorry I wasted your time, da 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 da, and off you go. And
and
now,
I'm going to pause them and see if I can help them find someone, by the
yeah,
way. I'm
that's
not going to let
nice.
them, I'm going to always see, well, let's keep, I said, so I understand that I'm out of your range, but let's keep talking because if you're already down this path, I
Yeah.
know people who are absolutely amazing. Let me see if I know who you're looking for and maybe expedite this a little bit for you. Are you interested in that?
And I want to put in a plug for NSA because you and I have known each other for years through NSA. That's the National Speakers Association. Not all of my clients are members, but they know of it.
Right.
And knowing who is out there and in the industry, I have known of you for years, but I wanted to find out more about what it was that you were doing these days because we probably known each other in passing in the
Right.
hallways for 15 years, but it was like, hey, we should really meet. So, but this is the point. When you are not the right fit, you're going to go out to your book of business. It probably will be somebody that you've known for years and you know what quality their work is. Sharing leads and passing information is something that happens in the hallways at NSA all the time. In Canada, it's CAPS, Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, and I have a little mastermind with two other gentlemen, Bob and Greg, and they are constantly doing business together. And I love
Mhm.
seeing that. And I've passed them business. I've passed them trainers and people that could help facilitate business for them. So it's just a beautiful thing when you have somebody else standing by that you know is qualified to do the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you really want to get out of the business of chasing the dollar and having the opportunities instead chase you. You
Oh, okay.
know,
Come on. We got to write that one down. Get out of the business of chasing the dollar, and have the business chase you.
and have the opportunities chase you.
The opportunities.
Yeah.
Opportunities.
If you chase the dollar, you're going to chase the weakest dollar. You're going to catch the weakest dollar, the
Come
cheapest
on.
dollar,
Look at
right?
that. So after our podcast, a little backstory. There's so many rabbit holes on this one. I said to Dawnna, you gave us so much gold. Like you had so many really cool lines of wisdom. And so we've been talking about that. So I want to make sure we're getting some of these up on our page. Get out
No.
of the business of chasing the dollar and have the opportunities chase you. There is a shift that can happen in your business if you let it. And I'm telling you, it all starts right between your ears with your thought that you have about getting the business. If when you get on the line with a prospective client and your primary thought is, oh, geez, I hope they can afford me. Oh, geez, I don't want to lose this piece of business. This is such a cool name of a company that I really wanted to work for a long time. The minute you go into those thoughts, you are now in a win-lose situation and you're going to give up the farm. You're going to give it away for much lower than your fee. Talk a little bit about that, Dawnna, because I see it happening a lot with some of our peers. And I would just love to talk about how you shore up your mindset.
Yeah, for sure. So I have two things that really helped me shift, because there was a shift that happened. Because even though I had a really successful business, when I came into the speaking industry, I did not want to have Silicon Valley syndrome, which is where I take all of the money from my previous success, dump it into this new thing, and then I'm broke, right? So
Oh,
instead I go, yeah, it's real. And so instead I said, no, I need to start from zero and come in like everyone else with no dollars and just figure it out, right? Or invest wisely. And
okay.
so here's the first mindset shift in regards to dollars. I want you to imagine that you have a Ferrari, a $250,000 driving machine.
Yes.
And you don't just take this thing to the grocery store. You get on the hairpin corners and you're pushing it for everything it has. And when you hit the brakes, they need to work
Yeah.
like no one's business. Now, to get the brakes changed on your Ferrari, just say for argument's sake, it's about $1,000 per wheel. Okay, so we're talking about $4,000 here. And
Okay.
I say to you, Jane, have I got the hookup for you? All for $500.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
are you feeling going around that next hairpin turn?
Eek, especially if I'm in the roads of California on the West Coast. No, I'm not
Right,
interested. Thank you. I
right.
want to get the quality. I want quality.
this is exactly what happens to the event planner. So money is a measuring stick. Always remember, money is a measuring stick, and it measures several things: trust, choices, quality, fairly or unfairly. That is what it is.
Right.
So what happens is, when you tell an event planner that you're $1,000 or $2,000, they're staking their $100,000 reputation, $150,000 a year they're getting paid on your $2,000 speech in front of 1,000 people. That's a little scary for them.
Yeah.
I am trusting my entire reputation to someone who hasn't figured out how valuable they are.
That's very interesting. And being the best kept secret, or the best, the hottest deal around, is maybe not necessarily great for your brand. Okay, so that was one way that you shore up your mindset. What do you tell yourself, just to kind of get this whole thought idea down? I have a Post-it note that I've had up since last March when COVID started, and it says, "People need me now more than ever." I raised my fees during COVID, and my lead coach for my school raised her fees during COVID. And it's because we had our mindsets shored up. We were good to go, and we recognized the value of what we were doing. What do you tell yourself?
Well, first, I treat my business like a private club and not like a public park. So I recognize that not every client is my ideal client, but all of my clients are ideal, right? So I only work with people who want my brand of unmedicated crazy on their platform, and no one else. And I'm very, very clear about that. Listen, there is a place for the guy who has an amazing suit with the nice white crisp shirt and the tie, and he can work that PowerPoint clicker like a Jedi sword. He can blind that guy in row 300 from like 500 yards. He's amazing, but that's not who I am, right? He has his tribe. I have a different tribe. I'm a Keynote on demand tribe. So I'm really saying, is this person right for my business? Are they right for me? Are they going to allow me to do what I do best? Will they trust me to do what I do on the platform that no one else does? And if the answer is no, I'm not going to change who I am for the dollar, because quite honestly, I am not going to wield that PowerPoint clicker as good as that guy. So this is going to, it might increase my bank account, but it's going to negatively impact my reputation.
And I suspect you've learned that through the school of hard knocks over time. Like, have you, I've only negotiated my fee that I can remember maybe twice in the last 15 years. And I think I ended up firing both of those clients. When did you have a situation where you thought halfway through, I got myself into something wrong?
I had somebody.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally hit the button.
You guys so excited.
I did. The mouse is right here, just hovering, waiting for me to mess up. People who know me know that I am a deep expert, right? So there is a depth of knowledge in very specific areas. And I had this one particular client who, I don't even remember why I took them on, but I really think it was a favor to someone else. And you know how that goes. Somebody refers you, and then you almost feel indebted to take it. Even though like it's not your right fit, but you're trying to do that person a favor. And so it was all the wrong things. It wasn't my rate. It wasn't my ideal client. It wasn't any of the things that I would normally have vetted out. And I remember they wanted to vet my jokes.
So they were micromanaging your presentation. So they didn't trust you fully.
And they wanted everything scripted. I have never memorized or scripted a speech in my life. You know, I'm one of those speakers that gets up there and I connect and feel, and like me and the audience are one. So I tell people in a heartbeat, I don't have speeches. I have conversations over coffee. There just happen to be 2,000 people on the other side of the table. And I was just like, that's okay.
question that we could ask a client like that? Someone who wants to micromanage your speech. How do we ferret them out early on? What could you have asked that could have saved you that?
I could have been more clear at that time about who I was and what I did as a speaker,
Yeah.
right? I should have said, and now I do say this all the time. I tell people very honestly, I am an expert who just happens to know how to crush the stage. But
Mm.
I've never actually given a speech in my life. I have these amazing conversations across the table from 2,000 other people. So the audience is just as much a part of the speech as I am.
So how do we uh, stave off a micromanager?
Well, a micromanager would never go from that. Like that
Okay.
whole, it's fluid, and
Yeah.
they
Okay. You're
would
telling
pass
them,
out.
you're saying some things that might be red flags to them, which,
Oh yeah, they
okay.
would pass out. Like
All
they go,
right.
so wait, and they will start asking you questions like, so wait a minute, so how do we get a preview of your speech?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I don't know. Do you have a preview of what the audience is going to say? Because I don't.
Good, 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 good. I love
Right.
that. Hey, if you're tuning in on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, thanks, Pavel, for letting us know that you're tuning in again from Moscow this week. So happy to have you aboard. Let us know if you have a question about sales conversations. We've only got about 9 more minutes left. Let's make sure that we hear in the chat box what your questions are. And I want to talk a little bit about, I call it the wealthy speaker lifestyle, but the lifestyle that you are living right now in your life is one that you very specifically and intentionally have um, designed for yourself. You know,
Mhm.
you've had such an interesting path, Dawnna. Tell everybody what you do and where you live and what are some of the things that really make your heart sing.
Yeah, so right now I live in Orlando, but I also have an apartment up in New York because I love the fall and summer in New York, which is
Nice.
just stunning,
And
upstate New
Christmas
York.
time too. Do you ever go there at
Ugh.
Christmas?
I do, but not on purpose because, temperatures and snow. I'm
You're
Floridian.
a warm weather girl. Okay, we
I
got
am
that.
a warm weather girl for
Okay.
sure. But down here in Orlando, one of the things that first of all, I don't own any furniture. I
Okay.
literally live in apartments that are already fully furnished.
I love it.
And so I own toiletries, textile, and tech, and that's
Mm,
really about it, right?
mm,
Um,
mm.
and I might actually buy something, but for right
That's
now,
cool.
I love that way of living. And then what I do with my clients is I have two sides of my business, right? I have that one side of my business that is corporate, where I'm a corporate coach. I coach the entire income production side so they can really understand how they can amp up sales for their sales organization and how they can make more strategic decisions with their C-level executives. But then on the other side, I love working with entrepreneurs and stuff like that. What we do that's different that I love is that at the end of our 6 and 8 week programs, we have those people come to a mansion retreat.
Mm,
And in that mansion retreat is implementation of everything that they've learned in planning.
love
And
it.
most of the time, my clients have already gotten their return on investment before they even show up to the retreat because we've done all the work together. It's
Oh,
absolutely
so nice.
fantastic.
So you hold your retreat at the end. Sometimes I hold mine at the beginning, and then we work through it. And I think there's pros and cons to that. The pro being that when people bond in a completely different way when they're together in a room together, don't they?
They do. In a mansion retreat, they definitely do. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're really inspiring me though. I think I've always held back slightly on, holding the wealthy speaker thing. I've had it in glamorous places before, but I haven't gone as far as I wanted to for fear that people wouldn't pay what the extra fee would be. And so I need to wrap my mind to this next level that says, you know what, we're talking the wealthy speaker here. Now, I want to just clarify something. The
Mhm.
wealthy speaker lifestyle is the lifestyle that's perfect for you. It's not
Right.
what I say it is. It's not what Dawnna says what it is. It's what's perfect for you. You are the one in the driver's seat and designing it. I've just said to Dawnna before we got on, see this coach sign? I'm going to take it. I'm going to buy, I was thinking about buying a property in the US, but I'm a little worried about tax implications and having to pay taxes in both countries. And so I was like, okay, I could get like a big ass RV and I could just go anywhere I wanted. And John would be able to golf wherever we go, and I'd be able to coach and have coaching sign, we'll travel, right? And so
Right.
you do it in mansions, I'm going to do it in a beautiful RV. I mean, I think that it's really interesting just to talk about what's perfect for you versus,
Right.
um,
And
yeah.
Jane, one of the things that I love doing with my clients is when we sit down after we define like their passion, what they really should be doing, and all of that stuff, because we really do get into those details. We start talking about the life they want to live. One of my clients, her name is Dawnna, and Dawnna is an attorney, and specifically what she does is she helps law firms add immigration law to their practice, and she teaches them how to do that. But
Mm,
she lives a total lifestyle business. She's like, Dawnna is on planes more than I've ever been in my life.
yeah,
Like, I know she lives about 45 minutes from me, but she's never home. She's
right.
always on the plane. She goes, I'm going to Jamaica this week. Oh, I'm going to New York this week. Oh, I'm in Washington State this week. She runs her practice anywhere she is in the world,
Mm,
because that's the life that she wants to live. You do
beautiful.
not have to be, don't turn your side hustle into a 40-hour week hustle, and then where you have literally colonized yourself.
Mm. And the business is running you, not the other way around. I mean,
Oh,
who's
you
in the
can't take
driver's
off.
seat here?
You
Who's in
can't
the
take
driver's
off.
seat? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't take off.
I have absolutely adored our second conversation. There will be more, and I can't wait to see what we do next together. Dawnna, thank you so much for being with me. I'm just going to put up a little bit of information about where people can get a hold of you. Here we
And
go.
can I share this one
Yeah,
last thing in regards
please
to
do.
sales, especially?
Yeah.
So many times I'll see speakers and they'll say, how do I get someone to sell for me? How do
Mm,
I hire a salesperson?
yes.
Let me explain something. And I am really passionate about this. Until you know how to do it for yourself, getting someone else to do it for you is really hard. And the number one thing I hear is, well, I can't sell myself as a speaker. You are not selling yourself as a speaker. You
Mhm.
are selling your solution to
Result.
the problem. You
Yeah.
just happen to be the person delivering the solution. You're not
Yeah.
selling yourself, you're selling the solution. So get you out of it, sell the solution, and then be more, or deliver the solution and then be more on top of, is this the right solution for this client, and can
Yeah.
we work together? It just
Yeah.
changes everything.
What you're doing is you're trying to hire to solve a problem when in fact what needs to happen is you need to solve the problem first, create sales systems, and then hire to implement the solution. So you need to be
Right.
able to sell you better than anybody else in the world. I'm so glad that you
First.
brought that up. That's a beautiful way to close out effortless sales conversations. So if people want to be in touch with you, firebrandsales.com. Fire is spelled with a Y,
Yes.
Fyre, brandsales.com. And is there any kind of giveaway or anything that you would like to offer up? I'm totally
Yeah,
putting you on the spot here.
actually, no, you're totally cool. Actually, there's two things. So, for speakers specifically, if they want to know what kind of speaker they are, because there are
Okay.
four different types. We've talked about this before, the four different
Yes.
types of speakers, and they're like, well, which type am I? Because it does make a decision difference in your sales. They can go to firebrandspeakerquiz.com.
Okay. Let me write that
And
down. I want to get
yep,
that. Fyre brand
speaker quiz.
speakerquiz.com. Okay, let's get that
Mhm.
into place here and show that. Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you. What
So
else?
that will let them know what kind of speaker they are, and it gives them very specific things that they should do in order to increase their ability to close a deal from a speaking perspective. And then
Awesome.
the other one is if they're trying to figure out, like, well, what kind of coach or consultant am I, Or if I wanted to put on my own mansion retreat, what would that be? They
Mm-hmm.
can just go to firebrandquiz.com. And again, these are very specific. It'll tell you exactly who you are. I had help of a psychologist putting these together so we could really help you identify who you are.
I love
So
it.
helpful. They're
I
so
love
helpful.
it. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. We have really appreciated having you. If anybody is interested in knowing more about what we do over here at the Wealthy Speakers School, I'm going to put that up on the screen as well, wealthyspeakerschool.com. We are actually in the position where we help speakers build the businesses of their dreams. We map it out through our Ready, Aim, Fire process. And a lot of times I think Dawnna and I will share clients because I think people can, there is no one way. And I think it's just a matter of time before your clients come to me and my clients come to you.
Yeah,
So
right.
this is why we pull in people who might have some similar competitive things to us, because we want to know what's out there and we want to know how we're unique and different and exactly.
Right.
And our goal is to provide like that exact solution, not just a version of it that's maybe kind of right, but let's just say,
Right.
this one is a perfect fit. So thank you again for being on with me, Dawnna. So great to see you. And with that, we're going to say, see you soon, Wealthy Speakers. Bye for now, everyone.